Monday Night Raw, Netflix once again. I mean, of course, like, it's not going to stop. So, of course, I guess it'll be once again. Anyway, I'm trying to figure out basically which part I want to start at. Because I was like, not a gripe, not a rant, but some understanding or just figuring out. I'm going to just go ahead and get the part that I was just going to talk about before we get to the whole thing. Is that the Jey Uso Gunther thing? How we gonna really stretch this out till WrestleMania? Like, it is also going to be a problem also with the Charlotte Flair, Tiffany Stratton end of it as well too. Of like, how do we make this last all the way? See, this is why in both circumstances I was like, why did they have them like? Even the Elimination Chamber for like what, like 2-3 weeks. Like, why couldn't you just have this go up until at least about then, or up until the Elimination Chamber, or after the Elimination Chamber? It is so far away from WrestleMania that I'm like, how are you going to stretch this out? Because it's not like last year, where there was so much BS, so much entanglement, that we can draw this all the way out, all the way up until basically where you were just so... I was like, we know who they're going to face, which is not necessarily the problem. But it's like, I don't know how many more. I was like, what does Gunther really do here? Where he said that until Jey basically made a pick, he was going to beat the hell out of Jey. Jey made his pick. I was like, are we just going to get brawls the whole time? I was like, Jey, the thing with Jey and like in the promo, I was like, he does a better job when he has to come back than he is like to really initiate it as well. Like I like Gunther coming out and coming out berating the crowd and trying to say he's trying to figure out what this whole yeet thing is from the beginning. I do like that. I was like, I like this kind of Gunther where he is basically arrogant as hell. He got up in McAfee's face and being like, do you believe that Jey Uso can defeat me? And kind of all that stuff. And gotta work on my Gunther. And Bang McAfee, having like he didn't even give a confirmation. He was like, I think that he can. And I was like, shit, I didn't know there was a train. But then after that, he was getting up in Pat McAfee's face. But I'm kind of like, yo, why can't he just beat Pat McAfee up? McAfee done been in a couple matches. He could sort of beat McAfee up. But Jey comes down, trying to make a save a little bit. I was like, they already trying to hold him back, and I'm just kind of like, I don't know why you're trying to hold him back. I was like, anyway. And then they sort of have a mini brawl, and I was like, okay, cool. We're going to do this for like another like 3 months. Like, I was like, we still got like 50-something days away. That's 2.5 months. Like, that's a long time when you actually know who you're facing here. And I was like, what do you do? Because I was like, after Elimination Chamber, then there's just nothing. There's nothing in between that amount of time. I was like, I don't think there's a Saturday Night Main Event, and even there is, I don't know. I was like, I like, at least, because we'll see what Charlotte and them do. But I was like, at least with the Jey thing, I do like it. But how do y'all just keep it going? Because at some point, that is going to get dry as hell. It's going to be a lull or whatever. And I don't think, and especially in this situation, I think Gunther is fine in his promos. I think Jey, when he could just shoot off the cuff, I think he's good. But I don't think together that they really are magic. You get what I'm saying? I was like, this is why I said that Jey and Cody would have been good. Because I was like, I feel like them, when they're doing promos, is talking. And you could just be like, oh, it actually is two guys just talking instead of over here setting up to do a promo in that type of way. And I think that they have better chemistry in that way. But we're getting the Jey thing, and I understand why, so Jey can win in the end. I'm just like, geez, we're going to get like 2 long months of this. It's going to be fine, but man, it's also going to be a drag. I was like, other news, other parts of the show. Sami Owens comes out after he had him and Kevin Owens had the little like video exchange last week. And one, I want to say, after I was like, I know Randy Orton just been out a long ass time, and now it's to the point that it's like, okay, it's not a pile driver thing anymore. He might just be chilling or whatever. I was like, he did come back off his injury and just start, straight up working. So hey, maybe he's taking a break. It's kind of weird that we ain't gonna, if we don't really see him coming into WrestleMania. I was like, I do think we're gonna get a bit of him WrestleMania wise, to be honest. But these pile drivers you seem to be able to heal very fast from them. I was like, Cody was gone for 2 weeks. Sami Zayn basically only been written off for, I was like, he hadn't been written off a week. He came back. So the pile drivers, while they are devastating and they're shocking, I was like, they're not doing the damage needed. I was like, I guess yes, and his neck is still bothering him. You sort of heard how his inflection when he was talking was a problem. Sure, okay, cool. But I was like, I'm just saying, if my neck hurt like that, I ain't going to work. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, if it like on that to that extent where you're like the doctors are being like, no, you shouldn't. I was like, no, you can't. You just don't take no time. Don't just be like, well, I guess I got to start my day. I was like, you at least got to stay out a week, right? Either way, I was like, Sami comes out and basically said like, Kevin, I'ma see you basically at Elimination Chamber. Adam Pearce is just like, no, you're not medically cleared. I don't care what all these people want to say. I don't care what you're going to say. Blah blah blah. And Sami just basically you should give me the match. And sort of like how I thought, where it was going to basically be a brawl, but not a match. I didn't think it was going to be 1, 2, 3 match. I thought it was going to be like KO Stone Cold kind of thing, or where they just like end up showing up, or maybe they they find each other backstage and they just start fighting, and it was just going to be a long fight throughout the whole Elimination Chamber venue. And that pretty much sort of what we're going to get. Basically, Pierce made it unsanctioned, where it's just like anything goes, anything happens. I will say this, that he's like, I can't stop him from wrapping a chair around your neck. And I was like, y'all really don't stop that anyway. He's like, I can't have him from taking you up on a Concord and fight. And I was like, y'all really don't stop that anyway. He's like, pile driver after pile driver. And he's like, I was like, okay, maybe y'all would stop it maybe on the third or fourth one. But he's like, I can't help you. He's like, it's just going to keep going. The refs and nobody else going to get involved. And it's like, okay, so we're just going to say you die. That's what we're doing. I was like, and I didn't know that's how the matches go. Because I was like, at some point, I was like, you kind of do got to jump in and stop. You can't just over here to be like, hey, sorry, everybody, died over here in the ring. But hey, I was like, we understand. But yeah, that's what we're going to get. And I feel like it's going to be fun to see two horrible people. Because like, you got to imagine that. I was like, by then, I was like, I was like, KO should be healed up and Sami Zayn should get cleared. I was like, even though they're not technically, that was like, it technically will work out anyway. Because I'm like I said, that's still 2 weeks from now. Like, so you're gonna be good. But it'll still be fun, man. I just want to know, like, is it going to be something that starts in the ring or just going to be all over? How long is this? Because, like he said, it's not a match. So they could go however long they want to. It's basically going to seem like it's going to be a last man standing type of thing. So I was like, that's going to be interesting to see how that all goes from there. I was like, but other stuff. I was like, small little tidbits of like New Day came out after, I was like, after showing they beat up Rey Mysterio, and after last week when they like half showed us that it started a brawl, but they didn't show us anything else. And then LWO came out and beat up New Day. I was like, surprisingly, the faces in this had the advantage in this. Normally it's always the bad guys that sort of normally have the advantage over the good guy, but this time it was the other way around. And also, too, are we going to get LWO? And by that, I mean, like, the two, I was like, look, I don't even know their, like, name, to be honest. The two dudes that are actually a tag team, are they actually going to be a tag team? I know Dragon Lee was there, and Dragon Lee's probably going to get a one-on-one match with Kofi or Xavier. That's probably what's going to happen. But I'm just saying, we do got two guys who are tag team people over here, and they don't get in any tag team matches. But I was like, I was like, this would be fun, because I was like, I just feel like they're just holding out until pretty much we could get. You know what? I actually don't know. Cause I was gonna say New Day. I feel like when you told me they would have turned, I would have been like, oh, cool. They get the tag team titles, and I was like, go on this real heel thing and basically show like, oh, it was Big E holding them back and stuff. But this whole thing with America Made, I really kind of want them to get the tag team title, and I was like, I don't think you can do American Made and New Day. That doesn't seem like that. That would really work in that situation. To be honest, there ain't no face tag teams either. They're all heels. I was like, depending on however you want to feel about Judgment Day. Well, speaking of Judgment Day, I was like, Dom had a match against AJ Styles, but I was like, we were backstage or whatever, and Liv was talking to Dom, and basically they were talking to each other about the whole, hey, did y'all really take out Jade and Liv? I mean, them seeing you leaving out, and they're just like, well, no worry about it or whatever. And it's like, oh, this whole thing with Finn, we want to add a new member. And Finn comes in, and he's just like, oh, we're all going. I was like, you're in the Elimination Chamber, Liv. Raquel's going to get in there. I'm going to get in there. Blah, blah. And no new members. I was like, I did like also, too, that Finn said something to Raquel, like, basically, of like, you know, like, you need to come out and do, like, win. And Carlita about to step up, and Raquel just smush faced him. I thought that was funny. Now, I was like, but from this, I really want to know who would be this new member be. I've seen people talk about Aleister Black if he came back, and I don't think that would be bad, except for would Aleister Black really be controlling this crew of the Judgment Day? You know, like it's not too different in the Bloodline, where it's like you need some other credible people behind you if you're gonna have a monster like Jacob Fatu. So it's like Tama Tonga works. We'll see how Tonga Loa fits. Solo about to get his ass kicked out. Aleister Black, there's no way that you're gonna tell me that Carlito and stuff is gonna be there, JD and all that other stuff. So who would this new member be or whatever? I was like, I can't think of anybody on the roster as of right now of them places in that spot that I'm like, oh man, they're not being used or something like that. I'm just like, that'll make it work. So we'll see how that has to go. But we did get AJ Styles versus Dom, and I did like the showing of AJ Styles coming back, and I was like, he had a lot of pep in his step, because I was like, you know, they were sort of working the match, and then all of a sudden, AJ Styles just started going into that, and I was like, here's, I want to say like his video game combo mode, where he just started hitting all the, like, with the leg. I was like, the back fist, and all that other stuff, and he beat Dom, like of course we thought he was going to do. But I was like, I just like the fact that it seemed like it was back. It seemed like he was re-energized. Then we had Braun show up in behind him. He felt it, moved out the way, speared the hell out of Dom, and AJ Styles and him just look at it. And I think that we're going to have AJ Styles versus Braun. I don't know if that's going to be the Mania match. I wouldn't doubt it. Just because it's like, okay, who's a high profile person that you can have Braun face? And I was like, and AJ Styles is somebody that could give Braun a really good match and also lose. Because who they were sort of like seeming like they might be getting to is Penta and Braun. But it's like if they do that match, that has to be sort of a WrestleMania match. I feel like you have to get that to one to Penta, because I was like, he's the one that's new here, even though Braun done had it a couple times. He already done showcased it. That Penta would have to get that one. And I was like, I don't think it would be something that would tarnish Braun or nothing like that. But I just don't think that. I don't know if they want to put themselves in that spot. You get what I'm saying? So I was like, AJ's somebody that you could work with, another veteran. Braun, that's been Braun's thing, is to basically face these veterans and basically try to beat them, and you know, a young man's game kind of thing. So we'll see if we get that one. I was like, we probably won't get that one after WrestleMania, just because they're going to do the Rhea match. So will we have that one in between WrestleMania? Like I said, I still think that could be a WrestleMania match. So we'll see. But I was like, I don't doubt it. I think we'll have it probably before WrestleMania, because they seem like they're trying to get they're gonna have to do something also because, like I said, it's a long time until WrestleMania and that amount of time. Uh, and speaking of, I guess not necessarily the WrestleMania a long time, but the Penta had a match against Pete Dunne, and I thought it was a really good. I was like, it was a really good match. I was like, lately here they've been letting Penta basically get wrestled by, like, he's wrestling a lot of people who do a lot of like technical type stuff and taking out limbs and taking out body parts of them to kind of like, because we see him as a high flyer and a jumper and a luchador, that is like he's been facing a lot of dudes that basically get him on the mat and stuff like that and show him like being able to overcome and stuff. And Ludwig Kaiser comes out and that sort of gets able to get Penta. I would like to win here because I was like him, Pete Dunne, and Kaiser, while both having beef with Penta, got really sort of beef with each other as well too. And I was like, I think this is a fine feud until we get to something that for Penta to really do. But I also like Dunne better than Kaiser in this situation of wrestling. We'll see how it goes that they keep on trying stuff. Also, I really wanted to say too, going back to the AJ thing with Braun, when they had to stare down, Braun took his shirt off and threw it at AJ, and AJ was able to catch it, which was not. I was like, you know that wasn't. And then I was like, and I like the fact that AJ like grabbed it and was cool with it though, where he was kind of like, he like, you could see it was like, oh snap, but it was like also like, hell yeah, I did that or whatever. And I like Braun's face of like, oh, you just gonna one up me, like that's what you gonna do. I was like, I thought it was funny. It made me think of when Brock threw the microphone and Roman Reigns was able to catch it without even really looking. It was like one of them cool moments that wasn't actually playing, kind of thing. So women's match, I was like, Dakota Kai earns the #1 spot for the match against Lyra Valkyrie for the Intercontinental Championship. I was like, while I thought it would go to Ivy, it does make sense that after the Creeds lost their tag match, even though like they might have been in their hands, that Ivy now that basically is like, we need to do this for Master Gable, which is wild. Also, so I was like, I understand. I was like, to me, it wouldn't surprise me if this is the, like, she's gonna beat. I think she'll beat Dakota, and I think Ivy will be the one that will eventually beat Lyra going into whatever WrestleMania stuff we're gonna do. And I do think American Made will end up with the gold by WrestleMania or in some form. We'll see where Gable is, because like he's not gonna have a shot at the Intercontinental Championship to me. Well, hold on. If Penta does get that championship, I'm not saying that he's going to lose at Mania. I think he'll eventually lose to Gable, though. I feel like maybe that's the way they'll tie that story up. But yeah, I was like Dakota Kai is the one that gets the first one up against that. Also, they're having the match next week. They got 2 women's matches for the titles next week. While I can say on the one hand, I'm like, oh, that's cool, that's great, awesome, because it seemed like it's really good matches. It's also really surprising that they're willing to do this right, like both on the same night. The week, I was like, next week, so immediate, still not close at all to Elimination Chamber, and not like after Elimination Chamber. Because Raquel, we'll just jump into it. I thought Roxanne had a really good showing against Raquel, because Raquel was basically throwing around like a rag doll. She's twice her size, and just beating the hell out of her. I would like Bianca and Naomi come off in their Bring It On outfit, cheerleader outfits, and just start beating the hell out of Liv with less. Raquel get distracted, which Roxanne's able to take advantage to get the win, and she gets into the Elimination Chamber. Now, with that being said, I was like, they're all fighting, of course. Raquel gets Liv up out of there and whatnot. The reason I say this is because I'm like, they're going to go in the chamber, as Bianca and Naomi was talking about, that they're going to get Liv up out there, and when it's them two, they'll handle it with each other, but they're going to deal with everybody else. Why not wait until after the chamber to do this tag matches? Because I'm like, Liv isn't going to win this chamber match, and they can still fight Liv in there, to where I'm just like, okay, now that's more fuel to the Liv Raquel versus them for the tag team thing. Even if something happens, say like Jey shows up or whatever, that just works back into like Liv and them benefit of basically saying, "Hey, told you we didn't do it" or whatever. And guess what? Now it's a weakness for them because if something does happen between Bianca and Naomi, they can easily capitalize on it. Whereas like next week, I'm just thinking, I'm like, I don't think Jay's. I can't possibly see Jay showing up there. I mean, that'd be crazy if they do something before the Elimination Chamber to sort of like spark the whole thing or whatever, or Liv and them lose off of that. I was like, they could do something like that and swerve it, but I just really just don't see it. And once again, I'm just like, okay, that's gonna be quite early. And also, same thing with Lyra versus Dakota. I was like, well, that doesn't sound like Lyra's gonna lose. I mean, Lyra's gonna win. Then I don't know what does. It's a meeting. Whereas after the chamber, anything sort of goes in that in between time until we get the Mania, because we know that they're not going to get. I was like, Lyra, I don't think Lyra's going to have a match on WrestleMania, because I was like, they try to have the Friday and the Monday shows have also events and stuff like that as well. But and then last but not least, we got Seth and Finn. I was like in a really good match. Weird is going to have to be explained about the whole, because seeing the 1, 2, 3, and maybe if they do a like this is how you're gonna know if it's a mistake or it actually happened. If they show a slow mo of how it was so close to the seconds that Finn got his like shoulder up before the 3, which I don't think it did, then you'll know like, oh man, that's it. Maybe not supposed to happen that way, but they can play it off. If we never approach this again, it was not meant to happen. But Seth got it. We also knew that. But I was like, it was a fun match because I think it's probably one of the better matches we've seen Finn have in a really long time as well too. Plus, him and Seth always got beef. They both do sling blade. They both been tied at the hip since the first championship. So I was like, they always got good chemistry going together. So that elimination chamber is set. We'll see how Finn reacts with the rest of the Judgment Day crew after that. But I was like, it's a fairly good Raw, especially going into we got a couple more. I was like, a couple more weeks till Elimination Chamber. I was like, and now that Elimination Chamber set, now it's going to be cool to see the beef that we sort of have with people, because they were going to remind me of War Games where you had everybody colliding with each other, so you got stuff to be mixed up with in that regard. Yeah, so it's just going to be interesting to see, because like I said, we also got the championship match next week. So, but anyway, that's Raw Thoughts recap. What you think? I was like, obviously, I don't think there's anything where it's like who should have won or whatever. Also, there was quite a bit of like people aren't getting their shoulder down. There was one with the AJ Dom thing. I was like, I think there was sort of one with the Penta one as well too. Like, nope, like people aren't getting their shoulders all the way down either. I've noticed that here, where it's like it had delayed a little bit of the counting in a way that it's just a little small, like maybe you're able to notice it, maybe you're not. But anyway, let me know what y'all think, how you enjoyed Raw, Elimination Chamber, all that other stuff we'll be getting into. Till then, I'm out.